Hello everyone, this is Sangeeta, Assistant Professor EC Department SNS College of Engineering. Today's topic is how Intel lost the mobile market. In this session, we'll discuss about what is a mobile processor and what is SoC, how the Intel and AMD lost the mobile market, what are the different processor introduced by the Intel for smartphones. So, let us start our discussion from mobile processor and SoC. So, what is a mobile processor? A mobile processor is a system on a chip, that is SoC, designed to support applications running in a mobile operating system environment. Mobile application processors may be independent from other specialized processors in the same mobile device, such as phones, baseband, that is wireless communication processors. So next we will see what is an SoC? So along with the CPU, an SoC usually contains a GPU, that is a graphics processor, and memory, USB controller, power management circuits, and wireless radios, that is Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, and so on. So whereas CPU cannot function with dozens of other chips, it's possible to build complete computers with just a single SoC. So let us move on to the main topic, that is how the Intel lost the mobile market. Not only Intel, the AMD also lost the mobile market. The Intel also manufactures x86 based processors, while most of the Android and iPhones are based on ARM processors. So we might have heard of smartphones from Asus having Intel processors, but those had some compatibility issues with some other apps from the Play Store. Even manufacturers have to recompile the code to support the software for 86 architectures. So there are a lot of reasons, but we have to concentrate four main reasons. The first one is it draws too much of power. Next one is heat generation, and focused on CPU for larger devices and would take more R&D to get power consumption down to levels usable in phones. And the main reason is it uses 14 nm technology not suited for mobile phone size. Let us see the failure reasons one by one. So the Intel was so focused on desktop and laptop PC market that it completely missed Intel below of the mobile market until it was too late. There are already many companies leading in mobile processor range like Qualcomm, Snapdragon, and moreover Intel processor technology is based on 14 nm, which is obviously not good for a mobile phone size. When Intel did finally realize that the mobile market was important, it was too late. Intel shipped CPUs for Android phones. There were some Intel based Android phones out in the market early in the 2010s. Even when Intel got off a smartphone processor market, they still try to compete for other bits of silicon but lost out. They eventually sold their modem division to Apple in 2019. The major reason is that the Intel want to manufacture all mobile CPUs based on their own architecture that is used in all Intel processors. It is hard to develop software support and configure other smartphone components to the new architecture based CPUs. And the power consumption is much higher for Intel CPUs, and that is not suitable for smaller capacity devices like smartphones. And the heat generation, so the heat generation is the major problem that is unsolved by Intel corporation, and Intel does not want to take all the efforts to make their chips compatible and popular. So the Intel was offering Atom processor for smartphones from 2011 to around 2014, but they were not competitive in terms of performance and energy efficiency. Intel does not deliver good performance per milliwatt. So other mobile, that is smartphone mobile manufacturers use ARM, but the Intel use their own architecture. So there is a lot of performance degradation. So let us discuss the difference between the ARM and Intel. So the Intel make chips based on very different architecture than ARM. The ARM architecture is used in smartphones because it's power efficient, as power efficiency is very essential for portable devices. The ARM is a risk architecture, that is reduced instruction set computing, while Intel is CISC architecture, that is complex instruction set computing. Both families of chips are designed for low power operation to give mobile devices for long battery life they need. Technically, however, they represent different philosophies. That is, the ARM architecture is designed to be as simple as possible to keep energy wastage to a minimum, whereas the Intel's Atom range uses a more complex design that benefits from compatibility with companies. So this is the major difference between these two architectures, ARM and Intel. It's also worth noting that the ARM has been powering portable devices for decades, while Intel is a relative newcomer to this area. For now, ARM is very much the dominant architecture, that is iPads and iPhones uses ARM exclusively, as do Windows Phone devices. So if the difference between ARM and Intel is not currently something you need not to worry about. In other words, we can say, yeah, suppose if your mother comes into your room and asks you to clean your table and put the books in the shelf. Now, if the books were stacked, the only thing you will have to do is just put them in the bookshelf. Done. This is exactly what an ARM CPU does. But if the books were all just piled up, and you will have a lot of work to do. First, we'll sort the books, then stack them and put them in the shelf. This is what the Intel CPU does. So we will see the Intel makes CPU to handle multiple complex tasks at once, whereas ARM makes lightweight power efficient CPUs which deals with sorted processing tasks with which are less power extensive. So this is the major difference between ARM and Intel. So the Intel uses the Intel uses his own architecture, but the softwares are very complex to configure and writing. So next we will discuss about the Intel smartphone processors. So the Lava Solo X900 is the one of the Intel smartphone processor. The other Intel powered phones are Asus Zenfone C, Solo Q700, Solo X1000, Solo A100. So let us see the Atom. They had a whole series of Intel Atom processors designed for computing for smartphones and iPad class tablets. They just were not competitive in performance per watt. They had an edge very early or in a faster DRAM interface, but before long, ARM processors were using POP technology and running huge buses to memory. In the end, Intel spent about $10 billion developing mobile processors and simply lost out to Qualcomm, Apple, Samsung, HiSilicon, and other using ARM processor cores. ARM was built on delivering very low power processors, and while the basic ARM cores were developed at ARM, all these companies could license them. Some like Apple and Qualcomm took out of architecture licenses, this allowing them to make any improvements they liked. And all these companies were focusing nearly all of their CPU design efforts on mobile processors. So it is very important to note that smartphone processors, including Intel's Atom processor, were nothing like the desktop chip. A typical desktop CPU can run out a smartphone battery in 5 to 20 minutes, without even considering the power consumption of the rest of the system, because The CPU in modern times is a CPU, the memory controller, and perhaps a GPU, that is a graphics process unit. So we need to bunch of other parts also. But a smartphone processors need to be a complete system on chip, as already we discussed, the containing nearly everything in the phone other than the power management and memory ports and peripheral devices like cameras and touch controllers. So Intel made these SoCs, but they ran into problems. They were not getting the chip technology in-house that others get. A TSMC, that is a Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. So the Taiwan Manufacturing Company is one of the world's most valuable semiconductor company and the world's largest dedicated independent semiconductor foundry, with its headquarters and main operations located in industrial park in Hsinchu, Taiwan. So the TSMC has globally capacity of about 13 million 300 equivalent wafers per year as of 2020, and makes microchips for customers with process nodes from 2 micron to 7 nanometers. So the TSMC is the first foundry to provide 7 nanometer production capabilities and first commercialize extreme ultraviolet lithographic technology in high volume. uh, Intel uses, as I already said in the beginning, Intel uses 14 nm technology, but others could get a TSMC. So it is basically where competing against an industry that actually became larger than Intel and the PC based on ARM. They also made a number of mistakes that just crippled their SoC efforts, like backing WiMAX over LTE in the 4G cellular race. The Atom processors still exist for embedded systems, and the larger mobile x86 chips power laptop and laptop scale tablets, desktop server, etc. But the pretty much true in the towel of the phone level processors. And it did not end there. In order to offer a complete solution, Intel built a second unit to deliver cellular modem chips. Almost every major smartphone SoC maker integrates their cellular modem. And Intel knew they had be behind and likely be hold on to an SoC competitor like Qualcomm if they did not develop their own modem technology. So the cellular modem business outlasted Intel's efforts to deliver SoCs for smartphones. But over a fairly few years, nearly every smartphone SoC vendor did actually develop their own modern technology. Intel spent years and billions working on 5G NR technology, only to lose most of the business to the smartphone SoC companies. Even though Qualcomm, for example, won't have their 5G modem fully integrated in the SoC this year, they are only selling the chipset. If you want the latest Snapdragon 865 SoC, we can buy 4G or 5G modem to go with that. If you want the modem, we can buy the SoC. So last year it became apparent the Intel had one major customer left for their cellular chip business, the only company making smartphone SoCs without their own in-house cellular business is Apple. So Intel floated the idea of existing cellular modem business altogether, and Apple took the notice. They struck a deal. Apple buying Intel cellular modem works. So these are the main reasons why the Intel lost the mobile market. But it took many efforts like introducing modem also. uh, but uh, uh, but because of the 4nm technology and power consumption, it lost the market. So thank you.